About Mishnayos. Are we doing Mishnayos?
Okay. Do we have enough time? It's up to you.
We did last week. We'll do it last week. If we have time, we'll do it after. Okay, Mutz are also running after. Okay, we got up to the bottom of Testament base. Sorry. Testament base. Right? Yeah, bottom of Testament base around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 lines up from the bottom. All right, so we said that Rabbi Yehuda holds that Roichev is not kohen. The Gemara asks, so from our Mishnah, it says two guys are riding on an animal, and they split the animal. So you see that riding on an animal is kohen. So money. So even if you say it's Rameir, again, this is going with Shmuel. It was a machlokes Rameir and the Chachamim, right? Over whether Manik Sofit, meaning the case of Manik Sofit is Arba'im, with the case of Klein. One guy's in the wagon, one guy is leading it. So according to Shmuel's version of the machlokes, Rameir held that both of them are chayiv, and the Chachamim held that the Yoshev Bekoran is not. So we wanted to compare the guy sitting in the wagon to the guy sitting on the animal. So who is this Mishnah like with the two guys riding on the behemoth? Even Rameir Hashta Yoshev Kani. If somebody's sitting in a wagon is kind of Rochav Mibai, do I need to say that Rochav is kind of? Of course he's kind of Elolav Rabbanon. Must be the Rabbanon. The Shmami no Rochav Kani. And you see that they hold that Rochav is kind of, which is not like Rabbi Yehuda. So what answers I'm asking about Manik Ragla, which is more is going to use this teretz a bunch of times now. He says we're talking about where the guy is manning it with his feet, right? Meaning he hits the, what do you call it? He spurs it, right? He spurs it in order to get the animal to go, kicks it, whatever. In the movies, right, Rabbaran, in the westerns, how do you get that horse to go? You kick it. No, I think.
Well, I'm muted. I can't tell you. He hits he spurs it on.
Spurring
The spur is the verb. My wife says yes.
Okay, spur is the verb.
It's a noun also, but spurring it on is a verb. Yeah.
I hear. Okay, so because he's doing it like that, that's as if that's called him actually making it move. So if that's the case, then that's leading it. So the Gemara says, there's two types. There's two types of ways to get an animal to go. You can kick it or spur it, or you could lead it along. Right? So it's interesting. This comes up a little bit on Shabbos, and of course somebody just texted about it right before that. Can you sit in a car on Shabbos? Right? Are you making the car work harder? You're not making it work harder. If you're gonna make it work harder, I don't know if it's exactly the same case here. But if you're gonna make it work harder, then that means you're I don't know if that means you're the one causing it to drive. You're probably not. But the question is are you part of the whole driving situation if you're just sitting in a car alone? But either way, you know what I'm saying? There's two types of ways to be manig. So Mao the same, a rough of others. You would think that riding it is better, the hamanik, the toughest bar. So the guy, if you say we're talking about where the guy kicks it, right? So then l'chayri he's better off because not only is he leading the wagon, he is also leading the animal. He's also sitting on it and he's holding on to the reins. Kamash Malon. So the Mishnah is telling us that they're both okay. Fine. So Toshma Shnayim Shayim Moishim Begomel. Two people are pulling a camel. Uman Higin Bechamor, or they're leading a donkey. Right, so it's important to know the difference here. Right, the last line in Rashi says Chamor Darkei B'Hanhoga, and Gomel Darkei B'Mashicha. A Chamor is normally led, and a camel has to be pulled. Right, All right, so that's one case. Or one was pulling it, the echad manhik, and one was leading it. On Tamar Aleph now. The midas ice kanu. We're going to see what midas ice means, but in this case, in this situation, they're kind of. You have to have the proper one. You have to have mashicha by a camel and leading it by a chamor. Meaning the machlokes is, do you need, in order to be kind of something, does it have to be done in the way that we normally acquire these things? If you just because you make some form of kinyan on something doesn't mean that kinyan works if it's abnormal. That's the machlokes. So Ketani Mias, what do we learn from here? It says one's pulling and one is leading. In sounds like only Moshe Chumanik. Those are the only two options. Where's Reichev falling? Alva Reichev. But if he's riding the animal, that's not a kinyan. The Gemara answers, "Who adin afilu Reichev, even riding." And why did it say Moshe Chumanik? Lafukim Eder Yehuda. It's coming to exclude. Now here, this gets into the confusion, because whose shita are we asking on? Rav Yehuda, Amoira. Now we're trying to prove it to him from Rebbe Yehuda, who's a Tana. It threw me off. I'm not saying I'm the brightest bulb in the chandelier. It threw me off for a bit because I had no idea what was going on until I realized that we have two Rebbe Yehudas that are here. Right? We're trying to prove Rav Yehuda the Amoira from Rebbe Yehuda the Tana. So that's what I'm saying. Who adin da filu Rachav? It's even Rachav. Other Tani Moshe Chumane. This that it says Moshe Lafuke made the Rebbe Yehuda the Tana the Omar. We're trying to teach is that you don't have to go Rebbe Yehuda's shita, that Meshicha goes by a camel and leading goes by a chamar, and there's no other options. The reason why it said Manig and Moshe is to exclude Rebbe Yehuda, but really Reichev works too.
Yaakov.
Yeah.
So if you took a car for a test drive, you would own the car?
If you took, no, you have to have a das machna too, I think. No.
Okay, fine.
Here we're talking about what's it called? Here we're talking about from Metzias.
Okay.
Chomenko is a whole different story. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that on the bottom of the Omer. How much on the bottom of the Omer? We're going to get to that. All right, but yeah, you're right. Theoretically, I mean, it has to have. I mean, I'm sure the salesman, the salesman wants you to be kind of, no. Well, he wants you to pay for it too. Anyway, yeah. So it's saying that it's coming to exclude Rebbe Yehuda. If that's the case, why don't you mix the two cases together? Right? If you really try to disprove Rebbe Yehuda, who holds that each one has to have a specific thing, right? So then why don't you say two guys that are pulling or driving, whether it's a camel, whether it's a chamor? And when it says you can't say that, because even according to the Chacham, according to Tanakama, there's one of these kinyonim that doesn't work. Of course, we don't know which one. There are those that say it's Mashicha by Chamor, and some say Hanhaga B'Gamol. I mean, one of the options doesn't work, right? Meaning, we don't know. I mean, I guess we do know. Each opinion does know, but we're just not sure, right? Because basically, there's four types of kinyanim that can go on here. Because you can be kaina a gamal with meshicha or hanhaga, right? And a donkey the same way. So you have four options: two for the camel, two for the donkey, right? And one of them doesn't work for one. So we don't know which one. So that's why we wanted to use specific. We didn't make it into one big challenge. Okay, the is the moisiv miseifa, and there are those that now normally, how do you touch moisiv? Without the art scroll on this one, I would not have any idea what's flying. Here is the moisiv miseifa. There are those that ask from the seifa. You look in the footnote of those that have art scroll. You look in the footnote in the art scroll. It says that moisiv normally means, from the word moishe, to sit. Normally moisiv is from mesa. It's a kasha, right? That's not. It doesn't mean that here. Right? There are those that really here it means it means that it's sort of like an answer. With this mida is kind of, but mida zu lemute. I wasn't saying the mida zu, right? Lav lemute rochav, isn't it coming to exclude rochav, right? So therefore, it would be a raya that rochav doesn't work. Loi lemute ifcha, it's coming to exclude the opposite, meaning which opposite? Meaning that you can't. The opposite, meaning not like Rabbi Yehuda. So meaning, I'm sorry, it comes to exclude the opposite, which means it's like Rabbi Yehuda, right? That you have to do dafka meshicha begamel hanhaga b'chamor. So the Gemara says, you're giving out tzad echad l'leikana. The difference between them would be, like we said before, there's one tzad that's not kind of is dama meshicha b'chamor. There are those that say it's pulling a chamor doesn't work. Yikadam hanhaga b'gamel, and those that say hanhaga b'gamel. Fine, so toshima echad rachav chamor. Right? If one guy is riding the chamor, ve'echad tafas b'meisira, and one guy's holding on to the, what do we say, the bridle. Rashi says it means that he's just holding on to it, but he's not leading it. Right? So you have these guys come marching into Bezdin.
The rain. You made that mistake on yesterday. Also, my wife caught it when I was listening to this year.
We were asking. We said we mentioned we needed rachamim on there. We said it. The art scroll said bridle, right?
Bridle was what's on its head. That's the part that attaches to the animal's head. Nobody pulls it from that. It's a ring that the rope or the tether that attaches to the bridle that you're holding on to.
Yeah, but the bridle is what actually leads the animal, like not the reins. The reins is moving the bridle. So you could hold the reins and not lead the animal without the bridle. So that's why the art scroll uses bridle and not reins.
Art scroll never saw a horse. Okay.
Of course, he's chaylik on art scroll. He's got confidence. You got to admire Achim's confidence, or his wife's, or both. Okay, bridle. What'd you say it was? Reins. I thought it was reins, but I don't know anything. Yeah. Either way, so again, the guy comes marching into Bezdin. One guy on a chamor, right? It does sound like a Western rabbi, right? Like a guy comes into Bezdin. Bezdin. One is on a chamor, one is holding on to the whatever he's holding on to, right? But he's not leading it. That's the main point Rashi is saying. Zeh kana chamor. So the guy is kind of the chamor, but zeh kana meisera, and this guy is kind of the whatever, the rope that's attached to it. How's that for a city boy's definition? Right? Shema mina rochav kani. So we see from this that a rochav, right? The rochav is kaina. Right? Because otherwise, why is the guy sitting on the donkey kaina? It's talking about where he spurred it. Right? So therefore, it's not rochav that's kaina, it's the spurring it. So he made a move, so he's kaina. So if that's the case, and he's kaina the whole chamor, so he should be kaina the whatever, the bridle too, or the reins. So when it says aim is that kind of chamor b'chatzi meisera, okay, so he's kind of the chamor and half of meisera, but that kind of chatzi meisera, and this one's kind of half the meisera. Okay, so bishlam rochav kani the kamagule bendas. So why would he be kind of like we said in yesterday's daf? Because who's picking up? How can he be kind of the whole bridle, or right? He's kind of the half that's sitting on the animal, and the other guy is picking it up. So it ends up being, however you understand it, the guy holding the bridle is holding it on behalf of the excuse me, on behalf of the guy on the animal. But the guy holding the Metzia, how's he kind of? Nobody lifted up the rest of the Metzia. It's sitting on top of the animal, the chamor's head. The Gemara changes again. So this guy is kind of the chamor and the entire bridle. And this one is only kind of what's in his hand. The Gemara says, if you say, like we said in yesterday's daf, that somebody can go pick up a Metzia for his friend and his friend will be kind of, that's only where he picked it up. The same kasha we had in yesterday on Amar Aleph. That's only where the guy picked it up on the das that his friend should be kind of. Here he's picking it up for himself. And he himself is not kind because we said he doesn't have anybody else lifting up the other side. So can he be kind for somebody else? Right? So how does this kinyan work? I'm not even going to bother to try to explain to We'll ask Rachman what this means. This one's kind of the chamor, and it's base pageh. Kimtzil balaz, Rashi says. It's whatever, I don't know, it's the headdress of this chamor. That he's kind of. You have any idea what that would be called? I guess that's what the bridle or the reins sit inside of, that how it attaches to the head of the chamor. I don't know. Is that kind of masha tavas b'yadin? This one's kind of what's tavas in his hand. Bashar, like kind of loize, the loize, and the rest.
Might be called a halter.
They're talking about Achashverosh's horse. It has a special thing on its head.
So, it had the king's crown. A halter is like halter.
Okay, the what's it called goes into?
No, that's what's the contraption that's on the animal's head.
And the other thing runs into it. The
bridle has a bit that goes into the
bridle has a bit that goes in the horse's mouth, and that bit is when you pull on the rein, it pulls on that bit, and the horse follows that. A halter doesn't have that bit. The halter is just a straps around the head somehow. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
decorative. It's
But you can
decorative.
attach the names to it also. The guy.
Decorative? Is it decorative, Taka?
It can be
It could be.
Okay.
practical, but they oftentimes decorate.
I was always looking at
Okay, then she's right. If you eat on Shabbos, she's right. Yes. Okay, so
Enter
whatever.
the new era in the dock now.
Yep. And we have it on video too.
You used to have your mother join.
Yeah, but the beauty is that she's saying it and Rahman's repeating it, so we get to hear it twice.
There's just an echo in the room. Don't worry.
Yes. Okay, so listen, it's good to have. So anyway, so Amar Ravashi said kind of chamor ubeis pagea, this head thing. The zeh kind of mashatavas beyada, and this one is only what he's only kind of what's in his hand. Pashal loy kind of loizev loizev. The rest of it, neither one of them is kind of.
You see, Yaakov,
Yeah.
the last halakha I learned in the Mishnah Berurah before you started the daf is if you can count the lady with the star for the Megillah. Mamish is the last halakha I learned just
Very good.
20 minutes ago.
Very good. Yeah. Very good. Rabavo has a different thing. He says he could be kind it. Since he could pull it off, then Memela, it's as if he's picking it up. Right? He can Rashi says he could be Moishechit Bekoyach. I don't know if Racham's wife's going to agree that can happen. You could pull this thing right out of I don't know, it depends how it's attached. But since he has the ability to pull it, so then he's kind of. What I asks, Rabavo Brucey, and this Rabavo Brucey, this Rabavo said it's just not true. Meaning halachically not true. Because if that would be the case, then we have a talis that's half on the ground, and half on top of an omelet. One guy came and picked up half from the ground. And then another guy came and picked the other half up from on top of the omelet. You're going to say that the first guy was koined and the second guy wasn't, meaning he picked up the half that's on the bottom and he never actually lifted up the whole talus because the top of the talus was resting on top of this, whatever this thing was. So are you going to say that the first guy's kaina? Since he's able to yank the whole thing to him? That would not be the case. Because he never picked up the entire thing. So what Rabavo said is brusa or bedusa, depending on how you got it. Either way, it's just not true. Fine. So Tashema, again a kashan Rabbi Yehuda. Tashema Rabbi Eliezer, I'm a racha besada. somebody who's, again, this gets back to what's the proper way to be kind of an animal. So before we were talking about the proper way to pull a camel or to lead a chamor, which way it works. Here we're talking about it can also depend on your location. So Rachav Basada, this is talking about a Metzia. If a guy finds an animal roaming around in a field, if he rides it, Umanik Be'ir, and he leads it in the city, kana, those are the proper ways to do it. So meaning in the field, you could be kind of by riding it, and in the city, it's by leading it. So you see, Rachav is kind of not like Rabbi Huda. The one answers again, Hachanami Manik Baraglav. This is all talking about where he didn't just ride on it, he actually spurred it. So the one says, Ihachi Hainu Manik, that's Manik. Trey Gavni Manik, there's two types of Manik. Fine. Ihachi Rachav Be'ir, my time of Lukani. If the guy's spurring it, so what, let's say he rides it in the city, why isn't he kind of it? It should be a legitimate kinyan. Or because that's not the derech. It's not the derech to ride on a donkey or whatever, ride on an animal in the city. Very interesting Rashi, and we'll see more on Amud Beis. Rashi says, the last line in the Rashi says, Mishum tznius. Right? Al tznius, this is not tznius for women. Right?
That's really strange. It's really strange because that was one of the questions I asked your father when I was taking my wife horseback riding in the city. The city. And there's and the answer to that was I was hoping to get out of that, but the answer was women wear a riding dress that is so big that it covers everything, and then it's not a question of sneeze.
There you go. So it cost you that day, huh?
Are you still kidding?
Yeah. So but
I'm
that's
still paying.
That's not with that. Okay, good. But that's not the tznius we're referring to. It's because it says b'nei adam. It's not tznius for men even, right? We discuss this a lot. I don't know, in the morning show we discuss it a lot. Tznius is almost as negeya to men as it is to women. But we'll see more on the base. Some of the Ravashi of Kahana Elamiyata Higbiya Arnaki b'Shabbos. If this is what you're saying, so somebody picked up a wallet on Shabbos. Shein dark and Shemini Adam like the Arnaki b'Shabbos. It's not the derech of people to pick up wallets on Shabbos because it's muksa. Does that mean he's not kohen it? So let's say a guy did pick it up, right? So does that mean he's not kohen it? Whatever he did, and he was kohen. Whatever he did, and he was kohen. Grada, somebody asked this to me last Shabbos. Somehow they made a purchase on Shabbos. I don't remember the exact thing, but they wanted to know that the purchase was made for them on Shabbos somehow. So can they keep it? Right. So this Beferish Gemara right here. I don't know if we pass like it, that you could keep it. The kinyan is the kinyan. You might have done something wrong, but that doesn't mean that the kinyan is not a kinyan. So the Gemara is saying here, it's the same thing, that even though it's not the derech, the Gemara is asking a kasha. You're saying that somebody rides an animal in a city, he's not going to be koined because it's not the derech. Good, it's not the derech, but the bottom line is it's a form of a kinyan. So the Gemara answers, Ella, so the Gemara really says, Anachanami, you would be koined for Metzia. Ella for a Metzia, for a lost object. But Ella, the Mekachum Memkaras, we're talking about business. Right, like Rabban was saying before with the taking a car on driving a car and yeah.
So if there was a curfew, if you rode the horse in the city after the curfew, you're not allowed to ride the horse then. Not allowed to be in the street, let's say. It's a big car and you can't be in the street, and you find a wallet after the curfew. You went out during the curfew.
Yeah, so that would
weren't allowed to.
Yeah, that maybe would be yeah, okay, well let's see on a base. Let's see on a base. We're talking about business. So he said to the guy, be kind the way people kind he didn't want to, what do they call it nowadays? He didn't want to be dysfunctional, right? He wanted to make the kinyan in the way that the regular kinyan is made, right? So the on the base now. The Rishus Rabin who, and if it's a Rishus, so that's it. So meaning he told him to do it as to do the kinyan in the regular way. So the regular way is not riding it in the street. That's not right. It's not the regular way. But then what it says, the Rishus Rabin who, but if it's in Rishus Rabin, so that is the derech. because Rashi says that's the derech to ride over there. Why? Because if you drive it, you might end up losing your horse because there's so many people. So then kind of that would be a normal way to kind it. So easily kind it. The adam chashuv who kind it is a adam chashuv, like we know from Purim, right? That adam chashuv rides on the horse. He'd also be kind. He isha he, and if it's a woman, right? Rachamim, if it's a woman, Kanya, she's also kind because it's a derech for women to ride on it because they don't have koyach to lead the animal. Be inish zilahu, and if he's a cheap person, literally it means is then he's kind. Now, what is it? What is it? An inish zila? Just kedai to spend a minute on this Rashi. The Rashi in the first thin line. What does a cheap man mean? Shadarka lirka lifnei kol af beloy doichik. His derech is to ride in front of everybody, even if it's not a doichik like the previous examples, like you're afraid that you're going to lose the horse, you have to ride on top of it. Lefisha ain't tznuah. He's not tznuah, right? Because he doesn't care. He's doing different than what anybody else does. Memela, he's standing out. That right there is the definition of tznius for men and for women, and you could apply it whichever way you want, right? Aval adam beinani. But a middle guy, he's not very wealthy. Meaning, it sounds because a wealthy guy, we said Adam Chashuv could ride the animal because everybody expects it, right? So, and he's not embarrassed to walk with the behemoth with his feet. This derech is not to ride in a simta in a city because it's tznius. Meaning, you gotta blend in. That's what he's saying. That is the definition of tznius, right? Fine. So boy rebelozna. So again, so that's what we're talking about. Where he's told him to be kind of that way. So that's why you need to do it only be kind in the proper way. So by Rebbe Lazar, so now a different thing. Let's say a guy tells somebody, I'm not giving you the horse, but you want to be kind of the kalim that are on top of the horse, so then pull the horse and be kind of it. So what's the din? Again, what's the din? So when it says likna, I don't understand this next kasha. Likna is mi amar lekani. That he didn't say to be kind of. Okay, I mean he said to him, be maishich this behemoth in order to be kind. So then when it says likna is mi amar lekani, did he say kind of? Elam mashayach behemoth vikani kelim shalom. Okay, so that change the lashon to say okay and be kind of. So what's the din? Mi mahani mashiach the behemoth laknu kelim aloi. Right? Does it work or not? Meaning to pull a behemoth to be kind of the kalim on it. So even if you say to him, be kind of the animal and be kind of the kalim, and he's telling him both. Again, here he's not telling him to be kind of the animal. Here he's just telling him to be kind of the kalim. But the Gemara is saying, even if he told him to be kind of both, be kind of kalim, is he going to be kind of the kalim? Chatzar ma'alechasi, that's called the chatzar that moves. The chatzar ma'alechas like kana, and the chatzar ma'alechas is not kaina, right? Because meaning in order to be, we have a kinyan chatzar, which we said we do in the mechiras chametz. We're makna the guy some karka, and all people's chametz agav that karka, right? So it's not kind of chitan misha'amda. We're talking about where the animal was standing still. So maybe kind of the kalim on top of the animal when standing still. Meaning kishamda would have to be yeah. So if I'm saying it would have to be that he has to just pull it. But right? But if it would stand, he's not kinda, right? So Amir V'Yosh was also not kinda. Meaning if you're not kinda when the thing is moving, you're not kinda even if it's standing in one place. The hilchos of the kfus and Allah is that it will work if the animal is tied up. Right? If the animal's tied up, then it will work. So meaning, how do you pull an animal tied up? You just yank it with its feet together. Some of the Amru le Rapapa Ravuna Bered Rav Yishua the Rava. So Rapapa Ravuna Bered Yishua said the Rava Elamayata Hayamahal the Svina. If guys are going in a boat, not, I mean, guys, people are traveling in a boat. The cups they dug him, and all of a sudden, we seen a fish jump up and jump into the boat. So are they not kind of? Yeah. Kochanami the chotzim alachas even like koni. Right? It's two. It's a chotzim alachas and not kindness. Amalei svina menach naicha.
But who owns these fish to begin with?
Hefker, no.
So I'm saying, so if they would fall into his boat, what would be the big what would be the issue?
Can he eat the fish?
But why not? They're hefker anyway. So if he would,
I mean, once he picks it up, for sure he's kindness. That's the thing.
well, that's what I'm saying. What's the question? These are hefker fish. They weren't in somebody else's boat. They were in the water and they jumped into his boat.
Right, but the question is, would his boat? Let's say he doesn't eat-
David, if you catch a ball at the ball, you're allowed to keep the ball or not?
The ball
It
is not
wasn't
hefker.
It-
The ball
it
is not
wasn't- That's what
hefker.
I'm saying. So learn that case. It wasn't hefker, and you caught a ball in the stands. Can you keep the ball or not? It wasn't hefker. It was owned by the team.
But that's not the case we're just learning in the Gemara. So what are you telling me?
Byron, you're talking about the baseball field where they're in the boats and it goes outside. Was it Baltimore or something? And it lands in their boat. That's a better question.
Let me see what my wife has to say. on this, okay?
Very good. Thomas.
The guy doesn't have a fishing license. None of these guys have a fishing license. So
They
taking
didn't
the
need a
fish
fish.
is
They didn't
against the
fish.
rule.
The fish jumped into their boat.
No, but the question is, are they kind of just like that or not?
Why? What would they need to do? They're hefker anyway. What would they need to do?
They're asking, who are they being kinded from?
Yeah, what would they need to do? I don't understand the question.
No, just the question is that, let's say a guy comes along and says, I want to take that fish. Can you say it's mine? That's a question.
Meaning he's coming onto my boat and saying, "I want those fish are mine."
Yeah.
Well, there are two people on the boat. No?
No, there was.
Well,
we
you
don't.
could-
We don't know about anybody else on the boat, but it's my boat.
Yeah, right. So I'm on your boat, and a fish jumps
You know,
up.
it's the fishing boats from Cheapside Bay or from Freeport.
Yeah.
And the fish jumped on the boat, and there's a whole chevra there.
Right. So I'm on your boat, David, and I say, you know what? I'm eating that fish. You say, no, I'm kind, and I say, no, you're not kind. It's your boat is a mahaleches. It's not kind for you. How are you kind? I think it probably sounds like it'll be the last boat ride I get on your boat, but that's what I would say.
You'll
Right?
always be allowed on my boat.
Thank you. I'm gonna float your boat, or you'll float my boat. Okay. Right. So, anyways, whatever it is the boat kindness. So, you shouldn't be kindness. Has to be kindness. Amalei. Then we get into lumdus here. The boat is in one place. It's the water that's moving the boat. Right? Which is very interesting. Right? Meaning.
So that means the boat is kinda?
The boat is kind of, yeah, because the boat
According
is
to that
sitting in one
Torah.
place. The boat is
Right,
only
and the water's moving.
right. So I guess the lumdus is how can your chutzah be kind of? Your chutzah is moving, right? The world rotates, doesn't it?
Is
Yeah, but
anyone
I don't-
bring this into cars?
That's not
What about a
considered.
car?
Car also everything.
Yeah, but the fact that the Earth is moving that's not a factor.
Well, I'm saying,
No, because then everything is always moving and nothing would ever be kona. So the Earth is not a factor. It's whether the boat is moving or whether it's not moving.
Now you sound like John Lennon in Strawberry Fields. We don't want to go there.
By the boat and the water, they're both moving.
Just said the boat is not moving. The boat is
Boat-
stationary and the water is moving. Said the boat's stationary. That's the case right now.
Right. but that's what we're saying.
And if the boat was moving,
Go to the two
and the
lines.
water was moving,
No such thing, unless it has a motor. It don't make a difference.
what do you mean no such thing? The boat moves.
The water moves the boat. That's what the Gemara is saying.
The water moves the boat,
Yes.
or
Why don't
both
you
move.
look at the Gemara. Don't look at us.
I was here for the Gemara. Okay, when a boat travels from America to Europe, the boat moves and the water moves.
Um,
I'm just trying to bring in reality here. You know,
That's
I
a
don't
boat
know
that
how
has
else
a
to say it.
motor. What about a fishing boat that doesn't have any motor?
It's still, what do you mean? So your paddle boat, you're paddling the boat, the
Yes,
boat's
your
moving,
paddle boat. Yes.
right? So you're moving the boat and the water's moving. Water's always moving, but you're
No,
moving
I'm
the
not
boat.
paddling. I'm not paddling. I stopped it. I'm not paddling.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
asking. Okay, so
Yes,
that's a specific case. So I'm asking, if you're paddling, then what happens?
L'chayra, then it's mahalaches. L'chayra, I would think.
yes,
It's
sailboats also.
Right,
Oh,
so about the wind.
Iran, that's a good question. I was wondering about sailboats. Right? I don't know. That's a good question. Okay, fine. If that's the case, if the woman is walking, and he throws a get on her, into her lap, or into her hat. No, I'm sorry. Kalsa is a basket. Rashi is oh, it's a hat. It's a basket. I was both right. Rashi says a basket on her head. Okay. What is that by Rabar, another sports one? What's it called? It's coming up. The Triple Crown, the first one with the hats. Kentucky Derby. Anyway, so
Oh, God.
right.
The Kentucky Derby was the first of the
Yeah, that's very good.
of the three.
That is very good. None of the guys got that for sure.
No.
That's
Yeah. So they wear hats over there. At least they used to. I don't know. My days they wear hats.
yeah, they still do.
So the guy threw a get into the lady's hat, right? So now is she Hachanami dilemma? She's not divorced because she's moving.
She wasn't running in the race.
Maybe that's why he wants to divorce her. But
The horse was the other Rama. The horse was the other Rama.
Yeah. So Amalei call some menach nach. They say no, the basket's resting. The kamasage mitusa. She is under it. Right? Meaning the basket. It's also hard to understand. I don't know how you understand this one, Naftali. The basket is sitting in one place. It's the person under the basket that's moving it. So okay, I don't know. So you say the same thing by a car. The car.
And what about her hand? If she's walking and she throws it into her hand,
Al be the same thing. I don't know. Saying a car, the etzim is sitting in one place. It's the engine under the car that's moving it. Can we say that? I don't know. Anyway, 5:23. Let's mention another 12 minutes. Okay, let's do the Mishnah and a little Gemara. It's amazing. I don't know if the Islam remember. Oh, you didn't do it yet, but 2 Mishnayos from Peah that we had in the last couple of weeks, and I actually remembered them coming up. Yeah. So Zok the Mishnah. That's why we're happy about it. The guy's riding on top of a Metzia, and he sees a Metzia. Now he doesn't want to get off his horse. He doesn't want to get off his high horse to pick up the Metzia. And he says to his friend, Tanali, give it to me. Natla, and then the friend takes it. And he says, I got it. Right? You can just imagine this friendship where it's going. Right? Zachaba, and then he taka Zaycha, even though he was shown it by his friend. But if he picks it up for himself, it's his. But once he gave it to him, once he handed it to the guy on the horse, and he says, I'm giving it to you, but I really was Zaychin at first. It's too late. He didn't say anything.
When's last mention here?
5:38.
A little later over there, in Lakewood.
He wasn't asking us.
I know. I'm just saying. Anyway, so what we have to understand exactly what's going on because the Gemara gets into a lot of lumdus here. Meaning, regardless of whether the guy was koined, the second guy, how's the second guy koined? If the first guy told him, I handed it to you, but I really had das to be koined. So how's the second guy koined? The only way he's koined because he handed it to him. That's the kinyan. The kinyan is not when the first guy picked it up. He picked it up on behalf of the guy on the horse. That l'chayra does not work, which we're going to have to see. That's what the Gemara is going to be focused on. All right. So again, the Mishnah says that if a guy's riding on a behemoth and he asks his friend to bring him he says, "Bring me the Metzia." Right. And the guy says, "I picked it up for myself, so it's his. Finished. The guy who picked it up belongs to him." But if after he handed it to the guy on the horse, he says, "By the way, I picked it up for myself," that doesn't work. Why? Because he was already koined. The guy on the horse is already koined. So Tanan Hassam, we learned over there in Peah, right? Perek Dalet. Yeah.
Because you did the Kentucky Derby, I got to tell you, you're buying a hot dog at the stadium and they're passing it down the row. and you decided you want to keep the hot dog. It's the last hot dog. The vendor says that's what's the last one. Right? And you're supposed to pass it to a guy.
Did you pay the guy already?
You didn't pay him. Nobody paid yet because the guy doesn't pay till you get the dog in his hand. Nobody paid. And you chopped it before you got to the guy who's next to you. He took the $20 bill out of his pocket already, but you kept the hot dog. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So okay, whatever the case would be. So now we have the case from Peah. So Tanan Hasa Misha look at this way. Let's say a guy is being malak at Peah. And he says Harezu leplini ani, meaning a rich guy's walking by a field and he sees the guy there's Peah, and he says, you know what, let me be kind to this on behalf of my poor friend. So can he do that or not? So he says, Vamar Harezu leplini ani. This is for Pliny ani. Right? Rabbi Lezer Aimer Zachabel. He could do it. He gives it to the first ani, meaning he's not coin it. The first ani gets it. Amar Ula, Amar Rabbi Shua ben Levi, Machlaikis me'ashula ani. The machlaikis is when it's a rich guy lifting it up for a poor guy. The Rebbe Eliezer savar migudi by. We have to say two migus here. Right? The Rebbe Eliezer savar migudi by mafkir nechase. The rich guy, if he wants, he can make his nechasim hefker v'havi ani, and he's an ani. And then Memela, he could also take payah. Hashtanami chazile. So now now it's good for him too, because migu that he could make himself poor. And then another migu was migu the zachli nafshay zachinam lechavrei. Since now he could pick it up for himself, he could also be zaycher for his friend. That's Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbanan sarbi chad migu amrinan treig migu layag amrinan. You could only say one migu. You can't say two migus. Right. So that's so the machlokes whether it's a rich guy, if it's a rich guy picking it up for a poor guy, if he can be kind of the payer. But from one a poor person to another poor person, everybody holds that one poor person can go take pay on behalf of another poor person. Since he's zaycha for himself, he could be also zaycha for his friend. So based on this, we'll stop here. So based on this, the Gemara is asking. The Gemara is going to ask, well, is our Mishnah talking about a wealthy guy with a poor guy, or is our Mishnah talking about two poor guys? Right? Does it make a difference? Right? Who's our Mishnah going with? Is it going with Rabbi Eliezer, or is it going like the Chachamim? Okay, we'll see that Motzei Shabbos does Hashem. Okay, we'll stop over there.
I guess we're also Yotze learning a Mishnah in Peah too.
Oh, Taka, we are Yotze. That's true. That's true. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna have to do some catch up on Mishnayos. We haven't done it in a couple days, but yeah. All right. I'll tell him. Everybody logged up ready for the Tillim. Okay, we'll say the Tillim anyway.
That Shabbos thing, man. That Shabbos